Hi everyone, welcome to the 2 Acre Homestead. My name is Lisa in case we haven't met, and this is my growing area here. I'm here in my garage. This is where I start all of my plants, my beautiful plants like this guy here. One of my tomato plants. Just recently transplanted this guy, and I potted him up and he's going into shock. So he probably wasn't the best specimen, but that's okay. But this is where I get everything started before I go into the gardens, where these guys will face the real world. For context, I am in the state of Arizona. I am in growing zone 8A. That is to say that my last frost date is April 25th. So I have actually 1 month, as of the recording of this to the day, actually 1 month before my last frost date is over. That means I can get all of my plants outside growing without the fear of frost. Well, today I wanted to talk to you guys about garden planning as far as what you want to grow. Have you been to the grocery store recently? I know I have, and I've got a family. I've got a growing family. And let me tell you, sometimes they eat like birds, sometimes they eat like horses. But whatever the case is, if I'm going to the grocery store, I am walking out spending hundreds of dollars on a simple grocery bill. I mean, things that I'm just simply picking up from the grocery store. So if you're like me, I prefer to avoid the grocery stores as much as I possibly can by growing as much food as I can. Now, if you're new to gardening, I know there's probably just a lot of overwhelm, but I'm here to tell you, I want to go over just a few of the items that I think might be beneficial for you, especially new gardeners, to concentrate on. Because overwhelm is a real thing. But these are just a few of my top 7 items to focus your attention on growing. So without further ado, let's get into what those top items are. And my first one up to bat is potatoes. Hands down, potatoes are the way to go. Why? Because for calorie density, potatoes are awesome. Potatoes, as far as being sprayed and product, pesticides and so forth, if they're not organic, potatoes that are conventionally grown, they are just laden with a ton of bad stuff. So, but potatoes, what people don't realize is they're so easy to grow. It's hard to go wrong with them. You can grow potatoes in a bag. You can grow potatoes in straw bales. You can grow them in a pot. You can grow them in ground. You can grow them just about anywhere. Potatoes they're not fussy. So the one thing I find that most new gardeners mess up with is these two things. When it comes to your soil, make sure your soil is moist, but not wet. So in other words, you should be able to squeeze the soil and it just it will clump up and then crumble in your hands. So you don't want it too wet, but you don't want it too dry either. But if you had to make a mistake, I would err on the dry side rather than the wet side, because if your soil is too wet, you're going to rot out your potatoes and then you won't get a harvest. But if it's too dry, you might just get smaller potatoes, but at least you're getting something. So number 2 is sweet potatoes. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of sweet potatoes. I don't like them, but I love the greens. And that is what's so funny about sweet potatoes is the whole entire thing is edible. So the greens that grow from the sweet potato plants, you can chop those up, put those saute those in a stir fry or whatever you want to do. The potato part, They grow very, very easy. And I mean, they're sweet potatoes. What more can you say? But what's interesting about sweet potatoes, I think a lot of people don't know, is that sweet potatoes grow in two different ways. There's the bush kind and the non-bush kind. I think more people are more familiar with the non-bush kind. And in fact, if you're starting sweet potatoes from the store, you're probably going to be growing the bush kind, just to give you kind of a heads up. The ones that are sold usually at the grocery store are usually the bush kind. Why is that? Because the potatoes themselves grow closer to the surface of the earth, or the ground rather. They grow closer to the surface of the ground rather than digging down deep. Now, the sweet potatoes, if you're getting sweet potatoes, let's say from a grower or from a seed producer, that's probably going to be the non-bush kind. And those ones are the ones that you're going to have to dig and dig and dig and dig really deep. So just giving you a heads up on the fact that there are two different types of sweet potatoes. And of course, sweet potatoes come in different colors. There's the gold, there's the beige, there's the purples. They come in different colors, just like potatoes do. But they are dead easy to grow, especially for those of you who are in the more southern part of more south, where it's warmer. You're going to have an easy time growing sweet potatoes. I know I do, but of course I'm here in Arizona. But I've heard of people in Colorado actually growing sweet potatoes. So, you know, if you have a little bit of a warmer climate, you're going to have an easier time. They really are sensitive to the cold. But if you are in a more northern climate, you may want to really wait maybe like about another month after your first frost date to start planting and getting those in ground. Okay, on to number 3. Number 3 for me is tomatoes. Now, tomatoes come in two different types. They come in two different types. The two different types are determinate and indeterminate. A determinate is a type of tomato that sets a certain amount of tomatoes and then the plant is done. Indeterminate means it's going to just produce as many tomatoes as it possibly can until disease, frost, or you kill it off. Otherwise, it'll just keep going. Now, there are also other varieties of tomatoes that are used for different things. So you have your cherry tomatoes. You can take those. They're little balls of tomatoes. You throw them in a salad, caprese salad, any sort of salad. They're perfect, okay? Then you have your slicers, which those are the big bulbous kind, and they're good for like BLTs, things like that. Then you have your paste tomatoes. And myself personally, I grow a ton of paste tomatoes because I like to use them for just about everything. Paste tomatoes can be used for making tomato sauce, ketchup, barbecue sauce, salsas. They're good for salsas, believe it or not, because they're not too watery. And if you're like me and I don't like watery salsa, paste tomatoes are really good for non-watery salsa. I just saying. But those particular things, they are just really good for any type of sauce that you want to make with the tomato product. That's what you're going to want to use it for. So on to number 4. Number 4 is fruits. Now, here's where we take a deep dive into some terminology that you guys need to be aware of. The terminology is perennial versus annual. And this applies actually to the plant kingdom in general. However, we're going to use this terminology specifically with fruit right now. Fruit comes in perennial and non-perennial. What do I mean by that? If you take the word perennial and you separate it, it means per annual. In other words, perennials come year after year after year after year. And the beauty of perennials is they don't really need much input from you. Actually, they hardly need anything from you. They may need just some trimming here and there, but they grow and they do their thing, and you just let them. Now, what's a good example of perennial fruits? Perennial fruits would be anything like any sort of tree, because they grow year after year after year. Even if they die back from the winter, which most perennials do, when they come back, they are producing fruit. So a tree would definitely be a perennial. Another example is any sort of berry. So blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, cranberries, all of the berries are in the perennial family. That's a good example of what perennials would be. Now, how about annuals? Here's a good example of an annual. This particular annual plant here is a watermelon, and I think this is my sugar baby. Yes, sorry, the tag's back here. Sugar baby. So my family absolutely loves these watermelons. They're perfect. They grow great in our environment. So this is an annual. What does that mean? It means every year I have to grow this from seed, just like this, every single year. And you save the seed and it reproduces the next year. That's what an annual is. Now, do I have examples of annual fruits? Absolutely. Some annual fruits that you would want to grow, especially if you're a new gardener, would be watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, huckleberries. Those are all annual fruits that you can start growing today. They're all warm, loving plants, so wait until well after your last frost date to put those in ground, but go ahead and experiment. I know my family and I, there are some fruits that we just can't eat from the grocery store. For example, cantaloupe is one of them because it just doesn't taste the same. The cantaloupe that they sell in the store is like a tasteless orb of water, whereas when you grow it yourself, the taste, the flora, it's just, you will never know what I'm talking about until you grow it yourself. So try growing your own fruit. Next up on the list, number 6 on the list is winter squashes. Now, winter squashes can be anything like, butternut squash, delicatas, pumpkins, spaghetti squash, any of those guys would be considered a winter squash. I have here an example of a winter squash. This is the last of my pumpkins. And what makes this a winter squash is this. If you touch the outside of it, the outside skin, it's hard. That's what makes this a winter squash. Whew, that guy was heavy. So that's what makes that a winter squash. Now, a summer squash is something like zucchini, crookneck squash. All of those are delicious in summer. They grow prolifically. But your winter squashes, they're called winter squash because they overwinter. You can keep them for a long time. For example, that particular pumpkin that I just showed you guys, I harvested that sometime in October. I had a video of it, and I'll be sure to put it in the iCards above. But I harvested that, I believe, in October. And here we are, we're at the end of March, and that pumpkin, he's the last one, but he's still here. So, and it's not molded, it's perfectly fine, and we'll have the last of our pumpkin. I'm actually saving that one for the seed, but we'll have the last of the pumpkins from last year coming up soon. That's why you want to have winter squash, because it is packed with calories, nutrition, and it lasts for a long time in your pantry. So long as you keep it in a cool, dark spot in your house, it should last. Well, number seven on my list here is herbs. Now, herbs made it, it probably shocks a lot of you that I'm doing herbs as last, because I think there's this thought process that a lot of people think growing your own herbs will save you money. I have not found that to be the case. I could be wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me know in the description. Let me know in the comments below, rather. What do you think? Do herbs save you money? If you're an experienced gardener, do herbs save you money? Because I've been growing them for so long that I couldn't even tell you anymore. I started growing herbs because I was told that saves you money. I've never seen the monetary savings of it, but what I have seen is a taste difference. Let me tell you, when you start growing your own herbs, the color is different, the taste is more intense. It is delicious when you grow your own herbs. It makes whatever dish you're cooking just come off the plate. But when you use the store-bought stuff, you don't know how old it is, how long it's been sitting, what's been used on it, what chemicals have been sprayed on those particular crops. But when you're growing your own herbs, you know where it's been and you know if it's been sprayed or not. But the intensity of flavor is, well, it's unlike anything. So I guess I would say probably if you're trying to buy fresh herbs from the grocery store, like in those little clamshells, I don't know what the price of those are, but I would assume those might be kind of pricey. I'm not sure. Again, let me know down below what you guys think about that. But those are my 7 items that I would say, if I was a brand new gardener, that's what I would focus my attention on today. I have one more bonus. Since you've stuck around this long, there's one more bonus that just popped up in my head, and I don't know why it never made the list, because I grow it religiously, and that is carrots. Carrots, you can do so much with carrots. If you're new around here, I use carrots in my tomato sauces to sweeten it up. I use it with my kale or my stir fries to add just kind of a sweetness to things. If I want something to be sweet without sugar, I'll add carrot to it. Believe you me, carrots, once they've been frozen, and when I say frozen, I mean like once they've had their first frost in the ground, they are very, very sweet. So I would say bonus, grow some carrots. Well, again, that's it from me. If you want to know more about how to start homesteading, what to grow, how to garden plan, how to just get started with everything, head on over to our website, the2acrehomestead.com/resources, and that'll get you to our resource tab. And when you click on the resource tab, I've got a bunch of downloadables there where you can look at different things, study different things about like how to get started in homesteading, how to start homesteading fast, how to garden plan, etc., etc. So head on over there to learn more about this topic and just learn to grow. Well, that's it from me and my family here on our homestead. So from all of us to all of you, wherever you are in the world, happy homesteading. Bye for now.